There is a well-known saying that goes, always give the hardest job to the laziest person because they will find the easiest way to do it. What is the best real-life example to this you have seen? I once was a temp at a tiny office on a construction site in around 2003. I was only there for one day while the regular person was on some training. They sat me down and told me that I just needed to copy all these numbers from one program to another. So I selected them, hit Ctrl-C and Ctrl-V. They stared at me. Turns out about 60% of this woman's time had been spent manually typing numbers from one place to another. Had a manager that would manually delete every email from his work inbox. I'll never forget the look he gave me when I clicked the Select All button that was clearly visible the entire time. There are way too many people who think computers are just typewriters with a bunch of weird extra shit on them. I work in finance at a large multinational corporation. I feel like a big part of our job is to just stop doing things and wait to see who complains. If someone complains, we keep doing it. If silence, then we call it a control drop and put it on our performance review for creating efficiencies. Boss hated Excel to the point where he didn't want us using formulas because you can't trust them to be right, so we needed to do all the calculations by hand or on a calculator. He would give me a spreadsheet once or twice a week that required, let's say, 45 seconds to do, but maybe 7 hours by hand, and he told me to go to Starbucks or something and crank it out. He thought that since I pasted as values and he couldn't see the formulas that I did it by hand, when really I just did it in 45 seconds, sent an email on delay for 7 hours, and studied for the next semester. Dude was the poster boy for failing upwards in your career. First day of internship he told me with a straight face he was a work harder not smarter kinda guy. This is the most asinine thing I've read today. Worked as a cashier during the holiday season back when I was 16. The supermarket was selling drinks by the boxes, and at that time, we only had barcode scanners that was at the front of the computer. No gun-type scanners existed. I was lazy and didn't want to carry boxes up to the scanner. So I politely asked my customers if I could carve out the barcode from their box to scan and keep. Some agreed, some didn't want to, but eventually I managed to amass all the barcodes needed, labeled them and kept them in a file for easy reference. Apparently some other cashier got green-eyed at my smart move and complained to the chief cashier, who promptly lectured me on, bullshit alert, how it's dangerous for me to scan such barcodes as I might scan the wrong things. She told me to throw it all away and carry the boxes like I was meant to. I mean, I was young so I could, but the other cashiers were older and some were elderly and needed the customers themselves to help carry the boxes to the scanner. But whatever, I guess jealousy trumps common sense. Tons of stores do that just with a printed out sheet. You could have taken pictures of all the barcodes and made a beautifully labeled collage. I work in a semi-warehouse environment and we have to track where items are at all times. When we move X item from location A to location B, we had to type out the to and from locations. We do this hundreds of times a shift. I went online to a free barcode maker website and spent about 20 minutes making location barcodes. I save hours a day by scanning barcodes. That's how you keep your warehouse from becoming a warehouse. I used to deliver beer. I did not like delivering beer. I may have ended up with 30 stops in a day, including deliveries that the customer would call into our office for. I used to bring extra beer and blank invoices with me on the truck, to prevent having to drive back to my warehouse to deliver one keg to a place that I was currently across the street from. 7 years later, the driver of that route is still doing that. You're wise beyond your beers. Herding yak with a drone takes the cake for me. They run from it, and oddly fear it. Which is surprising considering they have literally zero aerial predators. We only did it a few times because it really makes them uneasy, and doesn't treat them well. But it is very effective and easy, and you can herd them from over half a mile away from inside the house. Edit: I'm really surprised how much this blew up. I've never had so many post replies, but I'll try to get around to answering as many questions as possible. My post history is predominantly yakking off and tower climbing stuff, so I'd suggest going there if you're curious. This is one of the most incredible paragraphs I've ever read, and I'm very much interested in hearing more about yak herding. My bet would be the noise is what scares them. I mean, if you were minding your business and suddenly a flying monster that didn't even appear to be alive came at you, I'm sure you'd run too. At my last job, a truck suspension shop, we did inventory every December, and it was someone's job to count all the washers and screws of every size. It was my first inventory, and I casually mentioned that they should just weigh one screw or washer, then weigh them all and divide the weight to get the count. Everyone looked at me like I had given them the key to the universe. Counting washers and screws went from a day or two, to just a few hours. Ideally, you'd want to weigh 10 or 20 to account for variations in weight. I had an absolute bitch of a boss at a restaurant. This lady was trying to be promoted so hard and was just so extra about everything. She wanted me to count every salt packet, lid, straw, and packet of ketchup in any open boxes. Like I couldn't say 3 boxes and 3/4 of a box. I had to say 3 boxes and 872 salt packets. If I gave the numbers too quick, she'd know I lied. So I'd come up with reasonable sounding numbers and then spend 10 hours playing Pokémon. Eventually I left and went on to bigger and better things. Went by the mall years later and extra bitch was still there in the same job, lol. In high school we had to do 4 book reports every year. A friend of mine did his on each Lord of the Rings books and The Hobbit freshman year and turned in the same 4 book reports for the rest of his time in high school. You switch English teachers every year, so no one ever caught on. I was never brave enough to try the same thing. Automated 70% of my job in a large finance firm as an intern. Never disclosed it and got paid easy money for 6 months. I spent the time doing courses and applying for my grad school. Got my admission letter during the final 2 weeks of my internship and never looked back. Pro tip: Python and Excel can be your best friend. Obligatory edit: I went to sleep and this thread blew up. Thank you for your stories, questions and comments. I'm trying to get to as many as possible. Did similar in a smaller firm. Got a 50% raise when my boss found out and he asked me to automate other work. That's where I went wrong. I made my tools available to my team, saves everyone on the team multiple hours a day, so there was slack in the schedule. Then I lost my job in a restructure because I was the most expensive person on the team. Worked in a huge hotel by the airport. We had layover with over 400 people. I think we were 3 employees. They had buffet for dinner and then left to go to bed since it was 1 or 2 a.m. Rule was, we should always go to the room and pick up as many plates as we could and then bring them to the cleaner. Took for ages and I wanted to go home. I decided to roll out the cart and collect the plates and put them on the cart. Guests were seeing it and started putting their plates on the cart when they left. All of a sudden hundreds of people cleaned up their own stuff. Duty manager saw it and I thought he would blast me, since the hotel was a 5-star place. He just looked at me, smiled and said that's why I like to hire lazy people, they think of ways to finish work faster. Was a temp. Got hired for the day to print 30 packets with 100 pages each. Why would it take a day? I asked. Our printer doesn't collate the pages, so it will take you the day to sort the pages into the 30 packets, they said. Right. It was a standard office Xerox printer. It took me all of 30 seconds to find and click the collate button. Clicked the staple button while at it. All got printed by itself into nice stapled packets and I got paid to browse internet for the day. They thought I was a genius for fixing their printer and gave me glowing recommendations to the temp agency that led to more jobs. Was tiling a bathroom floor. One young guy I was working with was cleaning up when we were done. I told him to take the leftover tile back downstairs to the truck, and then went back to cleaning what I was doing. 10 seconds later I hear this huge crash and then a soft "oh, right." He had gone out onto the balcony and dropped them down to the truck, shattering over $100 worth of tile. He said he thought it would be faster. He wasn't exactly wrong. I remember having to peel 20 kilograms of charred eggplant at a restaurant I worked in. I asked the chef if there was an easier way to do it. His reply was yep, get someone else to do it. My teacher not wanting to grade papers, so he gives us easy shit to do. I worked at a chain restaurant, and in my last few months there we got those stupid table kiosks that customers could pay at. There was a survey at the end of every transaction, and our managers added new performance metrics based on how many people paid using the kiosk and also how well our service was based on the surveys. One asshole would just fill the surveys out himself after his customers left and gave himself 5 stars and everything. Dude was always ranked top of the servers. Fucking genius. What is your story about laziness? Please write in the comments below to easy lazy likes. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to meet new videos as fast as possible.